Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com, and you can find everything about me. You can scan the QR code, you'll find me 6 podcasts, or go to roycollin.com. If you're looking for a virtual assistant, go to va.world. My guest, Robert Wolf M.D., grew up as the only child of Ervin and Judit Wolf. Their stories of their escape from communist Hungary and their father's tragic history of escaping the Nazis twice, but having his own parents deported to Auschwitz, inspired Robert to document his parents' tales and share those stories with Jewish groups and others throughout the United States. In Not a Real Enemy, Robert shares his family's saga and the forgotten history of the nearly 500,000 Hungarian Jews who were deported and killed during the Holocaust through the epic, inspiring tale of daring escapes, terrifying oppression, tragedy, and triumph. Please welcome Dr. Rob Wolf.
Hi, thank you for having me. I much appreciate it, Roy.
I don't know. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. One thing, I suppose, suppression, because I know you're trying to get your message out. And how I know this is, we've had a guest, we did a live podcast, Vera Shar. She's Hungarian, was in a concentration camp, escaped, and talked about her story. And when I shared it, it got removed from YouTube. They gave it a strike. So this is an 80-odd-year-old woman that's telling her story, and they didn't want that to be out there. So straight away, and I know that from a lot of the information I get out, when they're removing things, it's because they don't want people knowing the truth.
That's so scary. That's so sad. I mean, repression of the truth is it's our worst enemy. I mean, that is a real enemy. Repression of the truth. Thank God I haven't had those kind of strikes too often. I've been put in Twitter jail once in a while for switching up the followers, whatever you want to call it. And I get scolded for being too pushy or self-promoting or helping myself for self-promotion. They say, well, why should I have to apologize or be humble about trying to fight anti-Semitism with a book that just happens to have enough amazing stories in it that even without the fight against anti-Semitism, you would find it intriguing. So here we are. And I mean, yeah, you walk on thin ice when you do this because meanwhile, people are protesting on campuses, in the United States and throughout Europe and firebombing synagogues and this and that. And that's okay, right? But we can't talk about oppression and persecution and suppression, like you said. And our book covers not only Nazi Hungary, but also communist Hungary, and even the period in Hungary before Nazi Hungary, which for Jews wasn't a very safe time. So from the end of World War I all the way to the end of the Hungarian Revolution of 1956, and even past that, when the hardliners took over, if you were Jewish, you felt you were in trouble. You felt you never felt secure. So the Hungarians never got a break for 100 years. Maybe now, even though now I hear the politics are still a little shaky, they call Orban Putin's puppet, and God forbid they do more land for people deals like we covered in Poland back in the day from 1939 when Poland was hit hard by the Germans, and then refugees to Hungary, and some got sent back in a land for people deal. And that's all the history I know about the Polish in World War II, short of Schindler's List, the story. And I'm kidding when I say that, but very, very tragic. And of course, Hungary got hit big time a few years later, even though there were already Hungarian anti-Jewish laws in Hungary as early as 1938, and anti-Semitism and fascism, magazines and newspapers talking against the Jewish people go back as far as 1933. So during the Great Depression, some of it's money, as always. Maybe that's the case in Gaza. I don't know if it's the case in Ukraine. Ukraine seems so complicated, I can't even figure it out. But Gaza seems simple to me. People hate Jews, they hate Israel, they hate the United States. They want us all to perish. It's quite clear. And that's all of that put together, 80 years ago, 100 years ago, current status, it's all the same. It's different ways of people torturing, maiming, killing, punishing each other, but it's the same story. Song remains the same.
And the Polish thing I find it fascinating because, the British so-called, they invaded Germany because Poland was being invaded, and that's the reason. And a lot of the Polish fighters were supposed to be instrumental in winning the war. But then they just kind of said, okay, Russia, here you go. You can have, well, it was USSR, then here you can have Poland. Like, so it was like, I thought they were on the Allied side, and then they just kind of, give them away, which was sad. Like,
You bring up a great point, and I like to bring that up from time to time. There's so many things in the book: split-second decisions and luck, timing, the hand of God, whatever you want to call it. But if the United States or the West had taken over Hungary rather than the Soviets, I probably wouldn't be here. I probably been born and raised in Hungary. Hopefully, got into medical school there. I am a radiologist. We can talk more about that in a minute if you want. But my dad was an OBGYN, and they loved Mother Hungary. They just hated communist Hungary and Nazi Hungary, and of course the persecution and the risk of dying. And so my dad was constantly on the run or hiding, escaping. And but it's different. So that's one of those circumstances. And I agree. If Mother Russia, the Soviets, would have relinquished those countries, then things would be different, perhaps. I mean, but it was ugly for many, many years. The hardliners and Soviets not, and then we're looking at Ukraine, and it's a mirror image, sort of, with what happened back then. So hard to understand. Land that costs money, right? And I guess when the Soviet Union went bankrupt, or near so, the collapse of the ruble, maybe that was good for the occupied countries. Maybe it was time to scale back. So it took forever.
And what's strange as well is I went to Lviv, I suppose less than 10 years ago, which is in Ukraine, and it was beautiful. And I was like, this could be like Poland. And it turns out that half of Ukraine was Poland, and then they just kind of shifted the borders. So part of Poland was Germany as well. So everything is kind of strange to me. It's over the years.
Another great point. I mean, you need a daily program to keep up with the change in anatomy. I say anatomy because I'm a radiologist, but the geography around Hungary, Transylvania, Romania, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, I can't keep track of all that. And it's so silly when people are fighting for a couple of miles or a couple of yards of land. It's so insane. I mean, land is more important than life. I mean, why can't we work together? So, but you're right. The changes are so incredible. And now Europe is, you've got Slovenia, you've got Slovakia, you've got Croatia. It's just, I can't keep up with it all.
Even Liberland, you probably haven't heard of that one, have you? There's a new country called Liberland.
I haven't. No, thanks for, see, I learn something every day, and I learn something from all these podcasts. So I learned something new. Fantastic. Small country, like,
7 square miles, I believe, next to Croatia.
So bigger than, oh, really? I'm actually going to Croatia next month. It's part of an Italy trip around the boot. But we end up in Croatia. So, and I've never been to Italy, but many, many years ago, and a slice of Sicily. It's a ship ride. It's a cruise. So hopefully don't encounter any anti-Semitism there. But it's on a boat with who knows, American passengers. I assume European passengers, maybe Asian. I don't know. But I'm really looking forward to that.
I spent a month in Pula in Croatia. Never any hassle. Happy walking at night, late at night. No fare. Food is lovely. People are lovely. So I think you'll enjoy it.
It sounds great, and most of the time is on the boat anyway. But funny you say that, because my publisher is Amsterdam Publishers, wonderful. This is all they do is fighting. They talk about, it's mostly the Holocaust related books, but there's so many spins to it. Like mine includes communist Hungary, and not a lot of people know about Hungary in general anyway. But there's Polish and Croatian and Ukraine, and sometimes it's music tied in, or dancing, or whatever the case may be. Escapes. There's so many different types of stories that we release. But ironically, what you say, I felt that way about Amsterdam when I last visited. It's been a while, but you walk the streets 2, 3 in the morning. You never felt unsafe. Same with Israel, for that matter. Never felt safer. But now my poor publisher, Amsterdam Publishers, she's got to look over her shoulder all the time, saying that it's still running, anti-Semitism still running rampant. And she's a Christian lady. She's a very, very sweet, intelligent person, works hard, and she's trying to promote the messages too. And now, being a Christian and sympathetic with that history, she's at risk too. If people, maybe a lot of these people don't read. I mean, unfortunately, maybe if they read more about history, then there'd be a lot more tolerance. But it's another lesson. It's another message we talk about, is we want more accountability. October 7th. So now every Jew on the planet gets blamed. I mean, America, what do I have to do? It wasn't my dad's story and his parents getting killed at Auschwitz, which is in Poland, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. I actually was there, and what a depressing place, because you actually feel it as you're driving into it. It's just like, just seeing the small shoes and everything, that it's like a museum now as such, but you just feel it's the way you get an eerie feeling when you go into some buildings. That whole place, the whole tongue when you're coming in there has that. And I encourage people to go there, but to be aware that it's going to depress you, but it's going to make you realize what actually went on there.
And of course, that was one of many concentration camps, and people died outside of concentration camps, as in Schindler's List, just randomly killed, or mass murders in Ukraine back in the early 40s. I mean, it goes on and on. But Auschwitz is disturbing. It's not high on my bucket list, although ironically, my cousin, who lives in Toronto, but they go to Israel back and forth all the time. They're Orthodox. But he sent me pictures. He was just in Auschwitz. I don't know if I could go. I think I'd break down a little bit. And there's another thing is, I've done a lot of Holocaust museum talks, and a lot of the museums have the train car. They'll have a sample train car, and I can barely look in them, let alone get inside them. I mean, maybe I have a little claustrophobia anyway, but just the thought of these cattle cars packing people in and sending them to Auschwitz, including my dad's parents and my mom and grandfather, a rabbi, and my dad's father was a dentist. So real threats to society. They lost so many good people by all that genocide, mass murder. And not only 6 million Jews, but LGBTQ, homosexual, disabled, the very old, the very young. 50 million people died in World War II, all in all. So, and not a lot of people know about the death marches in Europe. It's another thing. We talk about them in Okinawa and the Pacific, but they occurred with forced laborers. My dad was one of the lucky few. 5% of the forced laborers survived. Most of them that were found or were at the end of the war were sent. They were treated like prisoners of war, so they were prisoner of war camps. And my dad was still on the run until the war was officially over. He was either hiding or he was working a fake job sometimes. Some case, repairing bicycles, whatever he was doing, with the arrow cross banging on the door of a very, very nice business owner who protected whatever few Jewish people were in his workforce. So. Reminds me of Schindler again, the trains, packing people in the trains, the trip to Auschwitz, when they're all in a room and they put the showers on. What that didn't work for my dad's mom, who was gassed immediately, along with an orphan girl. So it's very disturbing. I mean, I still don't know how people can think like that. Fortunately, it's much less than 1%, but my job, is to make sure that we can wrap our hands around it, make a boundary, make a moat between the hate and the destruction of civilization, because I would hate to see the world end up in World War III, starting in Israel or starting in Ukraine, or it could be anywhere, India, Pakistan, North and South Korea, Iran, Israel, if Iran's holding back. I mean, you got to be kidding me what they did after October 7th. You just got to be, not just them, but all their cronies, the Hamas, the Houthis, ridiculous. So we're still talking about it too, and we're already almost 2 years, a year and a half in. It's been a long time, too long.
The problem is there's so many things go on. There's so much orchestrated. I mean, if I recently put up John Perkins' Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and basically the Americans coming in and doing a lot of stuff in a lot of countries, taking over the countries, have military bases. That's wrong as well. The English being in Northern Ireland, in Gibraltar, that's wrong. In the Falklands, everybody mind their own business, but unfortunately everybody's, orchestrating people, putting in their own cronies. We don't know half the stuff that's going on. There's a lot of the stuff when they put it out there, this is what it is. It's never like it is. We don't know the story. We don't know the hidden strings behind it, unfortunately. And all it is, like we'd say, the mission is getting out, is just to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's the most important thing. Like even, I'm not sure what year it was during World War II, but it was at Christmas. The Germans were playing football with the English. They just had a day of not fighting. I mean, the reality is, if we were at war with each other, what have I against you? But yet the Muppets ahead, they're pulling the strings. Then you kill him, I kill you. It's like all people have to do is do critical thinking and just not accept this. But unfortunately, there's millions killing millions because the powers that be pull the strings and press the button.
It's always one guy that ruins it for everybody. I like we say the football game, because the Olympics is one great event. I love the Olympics. I love all sports, but the Olympics is one great event where the whole world unifies, and they leave it all on the field, and it's just a fantastic. But every day should be like the Olympics. Why do we have to have a timeout? Why can't I take a hot tub with the leader of Iran and talk shop that way, or at a nice comfortable hotel in a nice meeting room with a nice meal. Why does it have to be all the saber rattling? And you said it yourself. One guy ruins it for everybody. Hitler, Pol Pot, Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden, Putin in this case. I mean, whatever few Hamas leaders there are, their names are so complicated. I don't even want to glorify them by remembering any of those names. I just happen to remember some from the very famous hits, mass genocide and persecution and torture. And the thing is, it always ends badly for these guys. It ends badly for the victims, but these leaders. The only good news about my dad's parents, the grandparents I never met, dying so young at 50, is that they lived as long as Hitler did, and he committed suicide in his bunker.
I think that, honestly, I think that's a lie as well, because I had heard years ago that when they checked the body, I mean, one stage they said it was burnt, then they said they have the skeleton, then it turned out to be a woman. I'd heard of loads of cases that he actually moved to Argentina, and recently it resurfaced that they're saying they have proof to it. But what I saw in South America, which was kind of disgusting, there was towns that are really pro-Nazi. They have all the Nazi memorabilia and everything, and they really think it's fantastic. And I'm like, how is this allowed? Like, and so that might be where he was. I don't know, but they're saying that he didn't. And if you look at a lot of the leaders from the Nazi party, they all started leading different organizations in America. Plus, if you look at like Ford, all the different companies that were funding both sides and supplying armaments and different things, it's like, it's a game for a lot of them. How can you kind of support a company that was creating vehicles safe for the Nazis,
the enemy?
Yeah.
That's a great, I mean, you bring up so many subjects. First of all, you mentioned Argentina. So I'm crossing that off my bucket list to travel to. There are other countries in South America that I'd like to see, Brazil, and maybe hit the southern tip, and then maybe even go to Antarctica. That's kind of on the bucket list, not real high, but I'm glad you told me that, because I mean, some countries in South America are still a mess. I think Venezuela, from what I hear. I learned something when you just told me about the theory with Hitler. I didn't know that, but I did know about some of the other leaders emigrating to different countries, and it happens a lot in the Middle East. Of course, we see that. So then they're cowards. I mean, they know what they've done is wrong, and they're afraid to face the music. They're afraid to face their destiny. If I remember right, wasn't Argentina partly involved with the Falklands, or isn't that?
It was basically like that was the Falklands, and but I don't know, has that got to do with Antarctica? Because that's even strange, because there's a treaty, like no country can ever agree on it, but I think it's 57 countries agree on the Antarctic Treaty, and they don't want anyone to go there. So what are they hiding?
I have friends. Oh yeah, who knows? But there are very few people there anyway. I mean, especially in the winter, their winter. But it's funny you mentioned that, because now Trump is talking about annexing Canada. I don't know. Maybe I think the Canadians are definitely resistant to it, but it's something to ponder because of national security for them and us. And then we talk about the waters surrounding North America and how many submarines there may be, or ships, and that's come up recently. And then they've talked about Greenland, the fight over Greenland. So Iceland turns out, and I was fortunate enough to go to Iceland a few years back, and turns out it was a stopping ground for the United States between the U.S. and Europe. So thank God that Denmark, who was under Nazi control, didn't reach Iceland at the time during the war. So Iceland got a break out of World War II. But now we're talking Greenland, which is even more of a harsh territory, they tell me. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, why do we have to fight over this land? Why can't we? However, we want to go to Mars, we want to go to Jupiter, we want to go to the moon, we want to get more resources, minerals, water. But why? Why? Who are we saving? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this for people that don't care, for one thing, because there's a lot of apathy and burnout with anti-Semitism and the hate topic as it is, and people just don't care. If it doesn't affect them, they don't care. So you brought up another good point, but I'll think of what I want to say about it after the next question. You brought up really 3 or 4 great points at the same time, so I got to write this stuff down.
I suppose let's kind of get into the upbringing and the stories that you heard, and how it came about that you got the book. Because like I understand, because I've obviously done the research and listened to some interviews, but for those that are listening, you might kind of the upbringing and why you came about writing.
Okay, well, we'll talk about the history of the book. So my mom and dad. My dad was a 4-time escape artist, and there are 20 miracles in this book, including the escapes, maybe more. But my mom and dad, after they escaped in 56, it took them many, many years they had to learn English. My dad had to redo his residency as an OBGYN, became, which he did, at Beth Israel, which is a Harvard affiliate, which is really something because I couldn't get into any Harvard residency in any specialty myself, even though I was lucky enough to be at Brown and Yale for my radiology and my neuroradiology. So I owe all that education, from University of Michigan Medical School to my parents, a good nurturing home and the love for education, travel, knowledge, Holocaust education, whatever you want to. So in 1970, so finally they got established in the 70s. The punchline, Dad delivered about 10,000 babies in his career in the Detroit area, which is redemption. Although it doesn't bring back his parents and the many million people killed, at least he brought a lot of life into this world after the fact. So in the 70s, my mom and dad wrote their autobiography, and they wrote the stories as though they'd happened the previous day. The sights, the sounds, the smell, the way the table was set, listening to the radio, the cold, the fear, even the smell of food. So very descriptive. So we turned, so in the 70s, that's my mom and dad, went from paper and pencil to typewriter to a computer. Flash forward 1997, my dad passed away. I probably read the manuscript once in between as a hard copy, just, man, and I didn't think much of it at the time, except my dad's first escape. I remembered that. But unfortunately, Dad dies in 1997. My mom dies in 2016. I took a year off, not a year off. I took the year to take care of her affairs. And then I retired for a year in 2017. And by the way, now my dad's story's on a disc. So we've evolved from paper and pencil now to a disc. And a historian friend, after my mom died, said, you got to look at this sometime. You got to read this. And I didn't think much of it at the time. Flash forward 2018, I was retired for a year, and my friend from Michigan said, I need some help, a really short radiologist. Can you do a couple of days a week? So I went back to work in 2018, x-rays and ultrasounds, mostly part-time. I've been in the business. I just retired, by the way, after 35 years in radiology, and that doesn't include 4 years of college, 4 years in medical school, a year's internship, 44 years of sweat. But here we are. This is all I do is my charge. But so now we're 2018, working for my friend. And as a radiologist, we have both two screens. The left screen is the patient list, the queue, and the right screen are the images. And we dictate it, of course, with an immediate report out. But in between cases, I loaded my dad's disc into the computer. And on the left was his autobiography. And in the right turned out to be my dictated biography. I'd try to carry just about word for word, minus wrong history, minus broken English. Although my parents' English was excellent. It was just, they were from Hungary, so some things were a little bit off. Their English was better than most Americans I know, by the way. But so I did the project. So now that was about a year. 2019, I moved down to Florida. We're trying to query agents and publishers. It wasn't working out. I was going to self-publish, but then I had a couple of beta reads. Lisa Tenner from Rhode Island, she read it, and she's been a friend since. She's been a great book coach too, like my co-author Janice, who she happened to match me up with. So Janice took it and she turned it into a really, really nice biography, almost a novel. So parallel stories, converging stories, conversations back and forth, letters to and from home. She really made it something special. If it weren't for Janice and the rest of my team, I got to say, I wouldn't be here either. This book wouldn't gone as far as it has. So I'm grateful to all of them. And so now it's, 2020, 21. She did the history. She read about the culture. She called historians. We had great testimonials, including Michael Berenbaum, who he was a collaborator in the Show movie with Spielberg. And my mom was actually in that. She was interviewed for that movie as well. So what a small world. And then a retired historian from the United States Holocaust Museum in D.C. also review the history, and we made the changes according to what they suggested, because they were more experts than we were. And then we vetted out very few. We only picked out a few agents and publishers to query. And bottom of the ninth, I know you're in Poland, I don't even know about baseball, but shoestring catch, bottom of the ninth, we got Amsterdam publishers, and lucky us, because they've been great, and we've been running with it. And I was in Israel when the book was released, but it was before Hamas's attacks, almost to the year, and I never felt safer. But now we're working hard. It's one thing to write a book, it's one thing to publish, but it's another thing to market it and more importantly, to get across the message that the book brings, which is perseverance, resilience, integrity, hope, determination, redemption. I already said, and so much more. And here we are. It's a lot of work, but it's very heartfelt. And right now, I guess that's my mission and my charge. As long as I still can do it, why not? With all this hate out there, a lot of messages.
And it's brilliant that they actually did the biography, because like, I'm kind of looking at the history of my great grandfather. He was involved when the British were kind of coming and they were trying to kill him and everything. And like my father passed 2 years ago, and I'd love to kind of, even with the grandfather when he was alive, I wish I was more interested then. And even my grandmother lived till she was nearly 96, and she worked during the war. And I kind of had little conversations, but never as much as I'd love to talk to it now. So obviously, like you said, it was after they passed. So it doesn't sound like it wasn't the topic of conversation at the home as you were growing up.
That's well said. It brings up so many great points again. The first half of my life, not so much. They were Holocaust educators with a lot of other people. They had a diverse, they were well respected in the medical community, the Jewish community. They had Christian friends, Jewish friends, Hindu, Indian, African, continental Africa, Asian. They had all kinds of friends. They loved to share the stories. They loved to educate about not Nazism, fascism, hatred, anti-Semitism, communism, all that. But they liked to educate about other things too. And they were very diverse and well-rounded. It's never too late to do the right thing. So if you have a book in you, start writing it and get help. That's another thing I would say. And I think everybody has a story in them, and it's too bad. And you want to say it's too late. It's never too late to do the right thing. I was very busy, doctor and family, and you focused on your career. And so it was hard to, until later, because I've been part-time for a while now. And then I had more time to do it and think and mature and realize this is a legacy to my parents. If I didn't have good parents, if I didn't have good family, I'd have nothing. And so I owe them that. 10% of my author proceeds are going to the Holocaust Museum in D.C. That's ongoing, and that's in my trust, and the kids and grandkids respect that. So hopefully they help me see that through, even when I'm gone. And it's just very gratifying to be able to do this. My mom, with her, I don't do a great Hungarian accent, but I'm going to try doing my mom about why I did this project so late after they passed. And she would say, why you couldn't do this while we were still alive? I can see the Jewish guilt right there. And I mean that in a fun-loving way, because there's Catholic guilt and Jewish guilt, and I don't mean it as a self-deprecating. It's just that was my mom. Some people just know how to push your buttons. And I think people say, well, mom and dad are proud of you. They're looking down from the heavens if you believe in that kind of thing. And hopefully that's true. But more importantly, happy with what I'm doing, but it'd be great if more footage, more traction, more results as far as, and we get it. I get a lot of, boy, that book changed me. That book changed the way I think. And that happened to me too. And that's really my motivation for doing all of it, because it changed. I said, I can't keep this story on a disk or a computer. This story's got to be shared. And there it is. I never thought I'd be here, with a published book and doing Holocaust Museum signings and talks and podcasts and TV. It's amazing that some people still care. And that's something else I'd like to, it's great when people care.
And just curious, I'm not sure what age your grandchildren are, but your own children, like, after reading this, knowing that, this came from your parents and the life that they have, how are they kind of reacting to this?
Well, the truth of the matter is that I'm going to have to backwind here. So I'm the only child of only children, and I don't have children, but my ex-wife, between her, we were together for a very long time. I have 2 stepdaughters and 3 step-grandkids. So they started their families very young, in contradistinction to my family, where my mom was 29, my dad was 40 when they had me. So I think they wanted to wait till the free world before they established a family, and they were smart and to do that, I think, and I'm grateful. But now the kids support it. 2 of the kids have already been to the U.S. Holocaust Museum, sending me pictures of them holding the book, great notes, telling the staff about me, well received. And then a few months later, I'm there doing my first of 2-day book signings at the Holocaust Museum. So those are some of the best days, when these kids they're there visiting. Well, we're in D.C. I want to go find Dad's book or Grandpa Rob's book and take pictures of it. And they all read it. They all love it. They're proud of me, I guess. and they say, wow, what a story. So even though they're not Jewish, I'm glad that they support the book. I mean, they can't really help me financially with marketing or travel or whatever the case may be, but they can support it spiritually, emotionally. And if the book ever does well, they'll get a windfall from it because they're all in the trust. They're all minus, my contribution to the Holocaust Museum and a few other side expenses. And I'd love to have it break through more when I'm alive because I'm a big believer in bonuses, and I really want to pay the members of my team a little bit extra or a lot extra if the book were to do that well, because I deserve it because of that. I mean, they deserve it as much as me. I mean, I'm here because of them, like I said. So, well, great support from the family and my ex-wife too. So, I mean, yeah, much support, and I'm grateful for that.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And I suppose let's talk about some of the escapes that happened. If you could go into some of the details of the escape.
Well, I want people to read about it, but I'll give you little teasers. I'll give you one. He missed an escape, and it was in communist Hungary. He ended up going to the wrong, through really a cloak and dagger story, and a guy who was going to help him get out. He went to the wrong train station, and this is under communist Hungary. I probably just said that, but everybody who made the correct train station got arrested trying to escape, including his medical school classmate. So there's a story for you. All four of his escapes were harrowing, split second timing, a lot of luck. First one, he was out in the middle of the Carpathian Mountains with his friend Frank. They were on a march. They felt that the war was almost over. They had no idea if they wanted to be in Hungary or Austria. Again, they had that, well, we're Jewish, so we're screwed no matter where we end up, whether it's the Nazis that win or the communists. So they didn't know where to go, but they knew they didn't want to be in this march. They thought it could be a possible death march. And they had already been in the forced labor camps for months, moving all over the country. Frank, his friend, actually mapped it out once, and it's quite the trek, all around the northern part, mostly the northern part, into Budapest, out of Budapest. But they're in the middle of nowhere, and my dad just gets back from the hospital. He has a foot infection. A little side story over there, too. The doctor, he said the hospital's sanitary conditions were horrific. And he had a doctor look at his foot for his infection and said, it doesn't really matter if I treat your foot or not, because you're going to be dead soon anyway. I mean, can you imagine your doctor saying that to you? So he gets back to that's just terrific. And he's not the only one with the anti-Semitic remarks. I mean, you get that through the whole book. You get the gist of the message. So having said that, he gets back, he's got a bad foot, it's cold, and they're in the middle of the mountains. They have no idea where they are. And they had about 3 days to decide what day they were going to try to escape. And they did it at dusk, and boom, off they went. They had a plan, and then they were supposed to separate. That little statement there has its own little side miracle. They were supposed to separate. A third guy followed them. He got caught, and so at this point, they're hiding in the thicket for hours and hours and hours, and listen to these guys haul this man away, beating him, the sound of dogs, whatever, and they risked being eaten by bears or wolves rather than going back to the guards, back to the forced labor camp. For more beatings, torture, and again, possibly death. So, but the only other thing I'm going to say about that escape is, ran and days and days of on the run, and no light at the end of the tunnel. We talk about a light at the end of the tunnel. You don't know where you're going to eat. You don't know where you're going to sleep. You don't have a job. You don't have a home, and you're still on the run because you'll be hunted the minute. So that I was so palpable. Like I felt that in my dad, and a lot of people who read the book felt that, I guess. So second escape, not as long, not as drawn out, but split second timing, a lot of luck, right in front of the Nazi headquarters in Budapest. We'll say that. And I'll say in that particular case, a pack of cigarettes saved their lives. And split second timing, I don't know, the luck of my dad, the luck on this guy, the luck of the Jewish, the luck of the Irish. I prefer to call it the hand of God. God was with him on many, many of these days. Third escape, he was a med student. He got out and decided, well, he made it to Austria. He bluffed his way through, arguing with an armed Russian soldier. I hope I'm not saying too much, but it's just an amazing story. And he made it and he was bluffing he was going to fix X-ray equipment, ironically, since I'm a radiologist, but changed his mind for fear of reprisal, ended up going back to Budapest. Nobody missed him. He was on call the next night. And then my dad's fourth and final escape with my mom, very harrowing anti-Semitic remarks throughout, even by the guy helping them, the renegade helping them across the border under horrific conditions. They couldn't even go on the first night. They had to hunker down for a night or two. Screaming baby, they had to miss a night because of that. A priest helps them. Great story with that, and it was harrowing for my mom. And that was my mom's only escape. Most of my mom's time during the Holocaust was hiding. Sometimes in Budapest, sometimes out in the countryside, farms, with her mom, grandmother, grandfather, uncle. It switched. It changed up, but she didn't. Surprisingly, ironically, as much as she talked about the Holocaust more than my dad, which I think was their defense against getting PTSD or whatever, she didn't document as much on paper. I mean, she was more of a genealogist. She got a lot of photos and she was looking up her family history and all that. But my dad is a little tighter time frame for his story from World War I to 1956, which is still, still 40 years almost. So it's still quite a time frame. But yeah, 4 escapes. It's hard to believe the luck on this guy. And then miracles, just miracle after how he got into medical school was a miracle. How he found out about his parents' destiny was a miracle. The fact that the book's won 4 awards, which I haven't mentioned, that's a miracle. I mean, and I thank my team for that. I mean, I'll show the book in a minute when we're closing down, I guess, but yeah, I can't thank people enough for that. And I'm not the type to pat myself on the back, but it's very gratifying to know that people that read a lot, that are smart, that are in the know, that critique, know how good the quality of the work is, and especially know the importance of the work. And like I've been saying, it doesn't make a difference what awards we win or how many books we sell if it's not going to help change the attitude towards racism and anti-Semitism. And I'm not talking about anti-Semitic people. I'm talking about people that can, call Congress or your police, your local police, or do whatever you write your own book, invite me to a book talk or a podcast, that kind of thing. That helps the ball rolling, getting the mindset against the hate. And more optimism, hopefully more optimism towards peace. So if I don't get that, and I'm not saying it takes a little at a time, but you can't fight anti-Semitism alone. You need help. And if I don't get that, then the awards that doesn't mean anything, really. I mean,
The thing is, because obviously Ireland were so-called neutral, but they were on the British side. So you're growing up and most people kind of this hatred for the Germans. So you just I met a few Germans and I always found them very nice. And I went to Berlin on a little trip and I went to Munich and I was like so shocked how nice the Germans were and everything. And unfortunately, we're conditioned in life to listen to the media and listen to everything out there to how something is, to get hatred then without even realizing that there shouldn't be hatred. And that goes on all around the world.
No, I agree. And it's funny you mentioned Germany too, because from what I understand and reading, and because there's a lot of side reads with all of this, with what I'm doing, Germany has been the most conciliatory towards the Jewish people. And I guess there is some anti-Semitism in Germany, but it sounds like it's a lot less, from what I understand, than in other parts of Europe. And of course, other parts of the world, like Canada, Australia, here in the U.S. I don't know about Poland. Hopefully it's quiet. Poland's done its dues as much as Hungary has, after having the communists and the Lech Walesa, if I'm pronouncing right, the solidarity, and they wanted peace, and so did Czechoslovakia. They wanted different time frames, but it was still kind of the same idea that these countries were tired of being under the Iron Curtain and wanted to be free.
And I mean, you just kind of brushed by the kind of awards, but I mean that's not easy to get. I mean, that's recognition of the writing style, which is fantastic. And I mean, there's indie awards. I saw about 3 or 4 that, but also I like to just go in and look at reviews, and there's some beautiful comments in the reviews in the Amazon and stuff like that. So you're touching people. So like the awards as much. What happens is it allows people to then go away and buy the book based on an award because they see it. So it's a good marketing thing. So it's actually brilliant that you've achieved them.
Yeah. I mean, that's correct. I mean, it comes up all the time, and yeah, there's good narcissism and there's bad narcissism, and I'm trying to keep it clean and legit and honest. And I spent a lot of money, a lot of time on this book because I wanted to be good quality. I didn't want to, even the book cover, all the details that just attended to, the quality of the website, my YouTube channel, all that, and that's important. And I mean, I just didn't want to put out something bad, and it's such a great point. And yeah, hopefully in the end, sometimes, like I said, I have to apologize for trying to sell a book that is trying to help me fight anti-Semitism, and like I said, with the great stories in it, And so, but you don't want to be you can't be too pitchy. So good narcissism, bad narcissism, well, fine line. But again, I'm not going to apologize for doing my charge, doing my mission. And so we're going to talk about it until I can't talk about it anymore.
And like, because you hear of a load of people now that come back from Afghanistan, Iraq, PTSD and everything. And you mentioned it just there earlier, but it seems like even though they went through traumatic times, that they just got on with their life. They built a lovely thing, and they, I mean, obviously, with your profession, it's like they looked after their child as well and got on with it and shared the message. They didn't let them depress them and kind of just let the pain and the hurt suppress them for their lives.
It's such a great point, and it does. Unfortunately, that does not come up at during every podcast. But I love it because, yeah, Dad was jovial and jolly, loved his work, loved delivering babies. He would have worked till the day he died. They liked to travel in museums, arts, opera, travel, and yeah, they fought it off, and they were lucky because not everybody gets to do that, and people's traumas are different. Everybody has a different experience. It's unimaginable. They all have their own stories, but somehow they got through it. They're strong people, I guess. They never reached for the bottle or drugs or anything like that. They kept sober. They love to share, and like I said, reach out to people and learn about them as well as themselves. And you would never know what my dad had gone through by his personality, and that's admirable too. It's just a great message out of all of it. It's the survivors, a lot of survivors don't write their stories because they want to repress it, because they get PTSD or depression, anxiety, and I can't blame them. We talk about PTSD in Vietnam vets. There's some want to talk about it, some don't. I've met both ends, both sides. Same with Holocaust survivors or people that survive any kind of trauma. I'm sure the Gaza the same way. Some people are going to want to write a book about it, and some are going to want to not say a word about it. So, and then the people that didn't survive, obviously, a lot of them, most of them, had stories too, but just didn't make it. And sadly, I mean, that's, but my parents did, and very appreciative of that. So the second half of their life turned out to be pretty good. A lot of work and a lot of discipline, and staying in their boundaries, staying in their lanes. But they did have a much better second half of their lives. And I'm not big into entitlement, but and people like that, people that have have it that rough, maybe they are entitled to a little bit of the gravy.
And you might just hold up the book and let people know what you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, there might be a little glare.
No, I see it perfectly. Okay, you can see the beautiful gold awards as well, which is a nice thing.
Yeah. So, Not a Real Enemy: The True Story of a Hungarian Jewish Man's Fight for Freedom. If you Google "Not a Real Enemy," you'll find me. If you Google Robert J. Wolf M.D., you'll find me. And I'm busy on the socials. I'm on Meta, X. I'm trying to be hip by staying up with the names, whatever that is. Formerly Facebook and formerly Twitter. Instagram, LinkedIn, my favorite connection. So if you're on LinkedIn, please connect and help me network, because that's a great professional way to network. But they're all good in their own right. I mean, I've got Holocaust Museum book presentations and JCC presentations through Meta, for example. So I use them all. Instagram, I've got help from that. So you still got to reach out to a lot, even whether you like the site or not. And then you spend more time with the site that means more to you, that might be more productive. So LinkedIn, and then also newly to TikTok and Blue Sky. It's probably not really my platform, but it's new followers, it's new people to meet with, and hopefully sell a few more copies of the book. Very grateful for the team, like we said. Google Not a Real Enemy, and all of my website is robertjwolfmd.com. A lot of videos, a lot of content. Some videos about the Hungarian Revolution, not too long. There are some podcast posts, but some TV interviews. Fortunate enough to do 20 TV interviews and 3 radio interviews, and I'm almost up to 100 podcasts. I'm very honored to be invited to any or all of them. What else am I missing? I guess that's kind of it. A YouTube channel, Not a Real Enemy, or Robert J. Wolf M.D. I don't know, got at least 30, 40 videos there. Probably, I mean, I could have 150, but nobody's going to sit there on a YouTube channel and watch 150 videos unless, you're a rock star or the first guy to fly to the moon, Shaquille O'Neal, whatever. But for me, it would be rewarding to people to double back, maybe after I'm long since gone, and say, wow, this guy did a lot of work. This guy did a lot. And how did he get missed? Or if I didn't get missed, then it'll mean more. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for people like you that care, and they give a beep. I don't want to swear on your. Some guys swear, some don't. I go with the flow. Most of my swearing's on the golf course anyway. But not a real enemy. You won't be disappointed. You'll be contributing to Holocaust education, and if you take an extra step, write a review or let's do a podcast or anything. Book. We could do a Zoom presentation, a signing. I don't say no to anything really.
Rob, thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll make sure I put all the links both on the audio and the video. And let's hope somebody might make a movie out of your thing. So if there's somebody out there listening, that maybe do a Kickstarter or something like that and get the project going. But thank you very much for the conversation.
Thank you very much. In your mouth to God's ears.
That's all for the Speaking Podcast. Yeah, you find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. You can find everything about me. Scan the QR code. You see my 6 podcasts or go to roycollin.com. And if you're looking for a virtual assistant, go to va.world. Sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends. And when you get the book, do the same, because what happens is the algorithms end up showing it to more people. He's there to try to make change in the world, make love. Instead of having enemies, all the different religions, all the different countries, we all hold hands, all drink a beer together and enjoy life and go and play golf, swear if we have to, but enjoy it. Until next week, take care.